channel. It is your boy Cheap Loots. How you guys doing this afternoon? It is Sunday. I got my news anchor voice on. Things are going quite well, as a matter of fact, for once. Sure, why not? So let's count down the top 10 cards under 100k. Look, you guys know the drill here at this point. Like 10 cards ranked in order, 4 honorable mentions. Let's get right into it. Now, the top 10 cards under 100k is going to start off with a card that is fluctuating. As of right now, the card is not under 100k, but that doesn't mean that it will be for long because I've seen the card fluctuate between 90k and over 100k. Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren has a phenomenal jump shot. He's 195, 7 foot tall. The fact that this man is the same rough estimate weight as me and is a whole foot taller should really tell you a lot, because I am not exactly the best or most impressive physical specimen in the world in regards to muscle mass. And even I look less skinny than Chet Holmgren. But at the same time, he is one of the top power forwards in my team. And the fact that you can get him for even around 100k should be celebrated. So, I mean, there's nothing this card can't do. He's got an elite level jump shot that only him and I believe Chris Webber have. Phenomenal. He's not quite 100k, but he will dip down again at some point. And at that point, you should pick him up for sure. Even if he's like 99k, he's worth it. Next up in the honorable mention, another long, gangly person, and that is Thonathan Maker. Now, Thon Maker is very, very solid as well. Just overall really good card. Now, I think he does get a little bit overhyped too, and I'm not the biggest fan of this card. He does have a dynamic duo with Danny Ferry, which that dynamic duo is very, very good. Thon's sitting right around 40k, and I mean, he's worth that. He's got Brick Lopez base, 7 foot tall, 221, so he's even a little heftier than Chet. He moves relatively well. He plays not very good defense on ball, but at the same time, he blocks a lot of shots. So it is what it is. Like, he's good. You should pick him up. A lot of people use Thon Maker. I don't have to go into too much detail here. Next honorable mention would be Shaq Diesel. Specifically, I know people like the NBA 75 Shaq. I'm personally not a huge fan of that one. I think that the glitched Shaq is actually the superior Shaq. I know some people do not prescribe to that same or subscribe to that same mindset for sure, but glitch Shaq I think is phenomenal. I mean, I just wish they would make Shaq, I've said it before and I'll keep saying it, I wish they would make Shaq a little bit more physically intimidating, because I feel like when you see Shaq, you think he's kind of little, but that's not how Shaq was in real life. 7'1", 244. Like, he's got all the badges you'd really want. He's got 74 total badges. There's really nothing you need to give him. He just kind of has an off jump shot, but it's really not the worst jump shot in the world, and there's a reason a lot of people run this Shaq even at power forward. It's sad that NBA 2K has destroyed Shaq's player build so much that he actually is better as a power forward. That's crazy. That's just crazy to me. I hate that. Next up, we got young Melo, specifically NBA 75 Melo, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. I mean, bracket buster I would put here as well. He's not going to be the greatest on current gen, but on next gen, he is going to be an absolute terror at the shooting guard position. And honestly, on current gen, shooting guard, he's fine too. Like, he's fine. There's better options for sure, but Melo base is elite. He moves well. He's huge. Like, you can get this card for around like 30k, which is nuts. The absolute most be like 40, 45, which is still worth it, especially on next gen. On next gen, he's probably, if not outright, one of the best 2-guard small forwards to run for like a 40k price point. He's probably the best. He plays pretty competent defense. He's got the straight backs, which is huge. Straight back Melo is elite, even better than hoodie Melo. And Carmelo deserves some consideration. I do think he's not quite as good, like I said, on current gen, but on next gen, he's straight fuego. Number 10. This one's going to be a shocker. I really don't think too many people are going to expect this bad boy to pop up. But Dark Matter Chris Middleton, dude. Dark Matter Chris Middleton is actually legit. His jump shot, phenomenal. Like, I've seen people like trolling and saying it's the best jump shot in the game, but like, no joke, it's actually really good. And he's dirt cheap. Like, you can get him for like 15k. 6'7", 222, 74 total hoffs. I mean, there's not much he doesn't need anything. He's got pretty much everything. He's got all the defensive badges, all the shooting badges on Hoff that you would really want. He plays lockdown defense, good player build. He's not too tall where his movement is stunted. As far as badges that he needs, none. Like, he doesn't need a single thing. He's good to go off rip. Chris Middleton never gets love in 2K, so it's really nice to see a really elite Chris Middleton. And for his price, which is right around 15 to 18K, he may legitimately be the best budget 2 guard in the entire game. So he deserves a little bit of notation here. Number 9, one of my favorite cards in the game, Danny Granger. No question, my boy has to get some love out here. He's actually cheap enough to be on the budget list, which is interesting. I didn't realize his price had dropped that much. So I'm going to go ahead and make an addendum to the budget list once I do that one later in the stream and add him. But Danny Granger, my God, he's phenomenal. Like, the only reason I don't use him as my starting point guard is another guy that I'm going to cover a little bit later on this tier list. But Granger has base 29. He's huge at 6'9", but he moves like a small guard. Absolutely nothing wrong with this card. Yeah, you might look at the only 36 Hoffs and scoff at that at this point, but it doesn't matter. Granger is elite. He should be higher up, but I'm being objective here. Number 8 is a guy who a lot of people use, and that's Jabari Smith. I think his player build is a little bit small, but he's fine at the small forward. He can move well. He's got a great jump shot. He's a little bit more on the expensive side, but you can still get him for 40, 45K, which I think is a good price. Jabari's nice. Future Rockets legend. I don't know how good he's going to be in real life. I'm not exactly the best at predictions. Check my 2021 draft grades video on YouTube if you want to see that. My predictions were mostly horrendous, outside of the very obvious ones. Special shout out to Josh Giddey, who I said wasn't going to be good, and I feel very dumb because he is very good. Jabari Smith is worth every single piece of MT. He is a great power forward, small forward, and that's in a position that is just overstuffed with talent. He's still that good. Number 7 is, it's NBA 75 Kobe specifically. There's not a whole lot to talk about here. Kobe's been good all year. I'm personally not the biggest Kobe fan in the world, but I do understand a lot of people really like him. And I mean, NBA 75 Kobe is just a shade under Invincible Kobe. There's really not a whole lot of difference between the two cards, in my opinion. I know some people are going to point out obvious things, but for 30K, Kobe's elite. 55 Hoffs, 21 golds. He doesn't need anything as far as upgrades wise. He's good to go. Even his gold badges are fine. Like, he has pretty much every important badge that you would want him to have on Hoff. He is an elite level 2 guard, and if you're looking for somebody that can hold up with some of the best 2 guards in the game for a budget price point, Kobe's there. He is. Number 6 is a card that I personally might even put higher, but I know a lot of people don't like him, and he's not the greatest on next gen, and that's Lamela Ball. Yeah, Cryogenesis Lamela Ball is stupid. Like, he's so good. I know people say he moves like a slug. I personally do not feel that way. I think jump shot 81 is legit. I think he moves incredibly well. He's got a good player build where he's big enough to guard bigger point guards, but just like Danny Granger doesn't feel like a bigger point guard, movement wise. I think he still moves like a smaller point guard. And I think people sleep on this card a lot, but I mean, you can get him for like 25K is what he was going for earlier. I think he's up to like 35 at the moment, which is still very, very good. Special shout out to power forward Lamela Ball too for triple threat purposes. Like, if you're trying to be a triple threat or a TTO demon and you're looking for like a solid guy who can run the point, don't sleep on out of position Lamela Ball, because he can surely do that. Very good. Number 5 is a card that probably would be higher, I think, in a lot of people's list, but something about Yao I just don't like. But I would say Signature Series signed Yao, which is roughly about 25K, so he almost qualifies to be on the budget list. Yao is ridiculous. This one is stupid. I mean, the absolute max you're going to pay for him is like 30K. That's wild. Super wild. Like, Yao Ming hasn't been that cheap all year, if at all. I mean, the Ruby one was like that cheap, but who cares? I know there's people who stan the Ruby Yao Ming in this community, but like, I don't trust y'all. I really don't. Yao Ming, by the way, comes standard with some badges that he probably shouldn't have, like Hall of Fame blinders and Hall of Fame limitless spot up. Like, he definitely shouldn't have those. Look, take it from me. I'm wearing a Kirk Heinrich jersey at the moment, so you already know that I'm trustworthy and I have great basketball knowledge. Yao Ming realistically might be one of, if not the best center for that price point. He will. He's going to be a little bit slower. His jump shot isn't the greatest jump shot in the world, but it's still very usable. I am a huge fan. Obviously, everyone is. Yes, Katana. Katana also wants you to know, my cat would also like you to know that Yao Ming is phenomenal as well. She said meow. Absolutely. I feel you. Number 4 is really kind of I would say current gen demon, but at the same time, he's good. Dyson Daniels. Like, he's definitely the more expensive card on this list, but he's nice. He needs some shooting badges attached, so if you can, grab one that's been badged up. Like, this one's got 50 Hoff badges. Like, if he's got some Hoff shooting badges, it's worth picking this one up for sure. And he's got Circus 3s and Chef on Hoff, so I think that's worth it. He is probably the best point guard on current gen, or one of them, at this price point, I would say. I've talked a lot about Dyson Daniels. I'm not going to go into huge detail about him, but he's nice. Number 3 is a card that I am completely shocked, honestly, is under 100K. Point guard Giannis. I really did not think this card was going to be under 100K this fast. The most expensive card on this list, and that makes sense because he's a point guard Giannis. I mean, I'm not too surprised by that. 6'11", 242. He moves like a guard. He's huge. Obviously, people are going to have a lot of success with Giannis, especially on current gen, where it's a little bit easier to get to the rim. Giannis is probably the fakest offline card in the game. He's very, very good online too. Like, don't get it twisted. He can definitely hold it down on the online front as well. But where this card truly shines is offline. The CPU cannot handle this Giannis. Like, they can't. It's absolutely ridiculous. When you're playing any type of offline grind and they're wheeling out like Fat Lever or like Damian Lillard, and they have to deal with this monstrosity playing point guard. Now, he's obviously very good online too. I like Giannis base a lot. I really do. I think it's great. As far as badges that he needs, I think he does need a couple upgrades, but nothing absolutely out of this world. Like Chef and Blinders and Deadeye, very important, very necessary, but you can get away with gold on these guys, no problem. But if you can find a badged up one, I mean, shit, what are you gonna do? Giannis is a nightmare. He is a nightmare to deal with. And obviously, whoever they're using at point guard, you can talk about screen animations and not getting over screens as well. But when you're 6'11", you have Giannis's player build, and you have, the speed that he does. I really don't think it matters. I think Giannis gets over screens just fine. Number 2, I mean, point guard Giannis, you could argue, should be number 1. I would say 1 through 3, whatever. Bol. The reason I'm highlighting Bol is he's still very good. I know people think he's not good anymore for some reason, but he still is. And the reason I'm highlighting him is because he's never been this cheap. So if you've ever wanted to grab him, which is an indication that we're definitely getting an invincible or an endgame Bol in the very near future, yeah, now would be a great time to pick him up, honestly. Like, 7'2", Brook Lopez base. I mean, he's got pretty much every badge that you would want also. Like, there's really not much that you need to give him. He's good off the rip. This card was ridiculously fake for a reason, and he deserves the attention for sure. Number 1 is a contentious one. I personally believe that people may not agree with my selection here. NBA 75 Giannis at the number 1. I am a stern believer in the fact that Giannis plays the absolute best at small forward, power forward. I personally think that's where his best position is in my team. I said that going back to the out of position one. I always said, the small forward Giannis, like Giannis who plays small forward, is going to be the best version of him, because I think that's kind of his best position, small forward, power forward. And the NBA 75 one is basically a tiny step below the invincible one. The invincible power forward one does have Scotty behind the back, which I think is huge because he has Curry behind the back right now, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Giannis is one of the most elite cards that you can buy for under 40K. Like, the highest I've seen this Giannis go over the past couple days is like 45K, which there's no reason you shouldn't be picking this card up. This is a difference maker right here. If you're building a squad that's on the cheaper side, this is a difference maker. You could easily lock down the best small forwards or power forwards in the game. People will say that Giannis can't rebound. I say that is incorrect. This Giannis can absolutely rebound. There's nothing wrong with this card. Yes, he doesn't have the most meta behind the back. Yeah, he doesn't have a top tier jump shot, but I think Giannis base is really good this year. Pick up Giannis. If you're looking to replace your power forward or small forward and you don't want to shovel out a maximum amount of MT but still want like a very competent, incredibly good card, look no further than my boy Giannis. Go pick him up. That's the list.